Hey, welcome to How To Tuesday. And today's episode is all about how to book a trip with a fishing guide to get exactly the trip that you want. And it all comes down to communication. When I was guiding every single day, I had a situation that happened to me fairly early in my career that really set the tone um, for how I talked to my customers before the trip and made sure that I was not leaving anything to chance in my communication, and it served me very, very well. Because the secret of a successful guide is having happy customers. It's not necessarily catching a lot of fish. It's not necessarily catching the biggest fish or the most fish. It is having happy customers. A happy customer returns, and a returning customer makes for a successful guide. And that's something that a lot of people might forget. In the pursuit of catching the biggest fish and the most fish, might forget that really what you're out there to do is to have a happy customer. And sometimes catching the biggest fish or the most fish is exactly what the customer wants. Other times it's not exactly what they want at all. So one time, I'm going to tell you this quick story. One time I book a trip with a guide, and he talks on the telephone to me and asks a lot of the right questions. He wants to go bone fishing. So I said, okay. He booked the right time of the year, and I just kind of assumed that he knew what he was talking about, knew what he wanted. Going bone fishing in the Florida Keys, if you were to catch 4 or 5 bonefish in a day, that would be an amazing day. There are other places in the world where that's not such an amazing day, but our bonefish are really big, and you don't get as many shots as you might get in other places. So I kind of assumed that he might know this. So we go bone fishing. I pick him up at the dock. We take off. We're fly fishing for bonefish. We're out there almost until lunch. We've had tons of shots. It was a really spectacular day of bone fishing. He did not catch one. I think he might have hooked one. But it gets time for lunch, and so we just kind of stop poling and start drifting along, and we're talking, and he seems pretty happy. We kind of float up next to a mangrove, and he looks down, and there's a school of snappers um, right beside the mangroves. He says, "Oh man, can we catch those?" And I said, "Well, sure, you can catch those. That's fine." And so he throws a fly in there, and sure enough, one eats it, and he's just having the best time. And he's like, "Why haven't we been doing this?" I said, "Well, I thought that you said that you wanted to go bone fishing." He goes, "Well, I did. I said that I wanted to go bone fishing. That's right." And I said, "Well, that's what we've been doing all morning. We've been bone fishing, we've been going after bonefish, and we've seen quite a number of them. We just haven't caught one. They're kind of hard to catch." "Yeah, but I want to catch these. These are fine. I just want to catch any fish." I said, "Yeah, but you said that you wanted to go bone fishing. I'm just trying to understand." He goes, "Well, I thought bone fishing was just going out in a boat like this with a poling tower and a guide and catching whatever." And so it hit me right there that even though someone asked most of the right questions and seems like they understand what's happening, there may be some miscommunication. So from that point on, I was really, really careful about how I communicated on the phone and made sure that, you know, there are no dumb questions either from the customer or from the guide. Like, if somebody's coming down here to go bone fishing and it's going to be in September and they want to fly fish, okay, do you know that a good day would be, catching 1 or 2 fish and we're only going to fly fish and that's what we're going to do. Just making sure that the expectations are set. So that one little story really helped me to communicate with my customers. And so here's the advice I'm going to give you about booking a trip with a fishing guide. Number one, be direct. Express exactly what you want to do. Okay. So this could be that you are a fly fisherman and you want to go permit fishing and you only want to catch permit or you only want to fish for permit, no matter what that means. If there are tons of tarpon around, you don't want to fish for the tarpon. You only want to fish for the permit because you know that every time you cast a tarpon, that's a possible it's a possibility that a permit might have shown up. Okay, good. You understand the game. That's what you want to do. You need to talk about that with your guide. You need to be sure that you're going with the right guide who has that same mindset and is all in like you are. So that's great. You can find a permit guide. There are plenty of guides that specialize in that or catch tarpon or whatever. Maybe on the other side of the coin, maybe um, you've been coming down to the Florida Keys or wherever, and you always fly fish for permit, and you're going to bring your son along, who's 6 or 7 years old. Well, he isn't going to want to sit in that boat and watch you take shots at permit all day long. Maybe he will, but chances are he's probably going to want to bend the rod. He's going to want to catch some fish. So if you were to call a guide and tell them, look, I want to bring my 6-year-old son down there. Give me the best time of the year to come down with the most variety and the most opportunity that we can catch a lot of fish, a lot of different fish, and basically keep the rod bent all day long. There are guides that specialize in that. There are guides that are going to love doing that kind of fishing, and there are guides that are really not going to love doing that kind of fishing, that aren't set up for that kind of fishing. They're set up to go fly fishing for permit all day. They're not down with that. So make sure that you are direct about what you want. If you want a certain fish, if you want to do something, make sure that you communicate with the guide, that you're talking to the right guide that can have a reasonable expectation of getting that for you. So the second thing is to be honest. Give the guide an honest assessment of your fishing skills. Maybe, I've been fly fishing for 2 years. I've been coming down to the Keys for 5 years. I'm pretty proficient with spinning tackle. I'll fish with bait, lures, flies, whatever's the most productive. I'll just want to catch a lot of fish. I'll do whatever you say, right? I'm a mediocre fisherman. I'm pretty good. I have fished in one tournament before. I've fished with these other guides, and they've taught me a few things. I would consider myself above novice to intermediate or something like that, to give the guide kind of a good assessment of your fishing. And believe me, if you say, listen, I'm really not that good of a caster, but I will stand on the deck all day long and wait for my shot at permit, there are plenty of guides that will be all in with you. Your fishing skill is not as important as making sure that you are paired with the right guide, if you ask me. All right, number 3, be open. So be flexible with your travel plans, be flexible with different times of the year, be flexible to possibly fish with a referral. If you have contacted one guide and you're asking for a type of fishing that he doesn't particularly specialize in, and he says, hey, I got a buddy that could be really, really good at this, so I suggest that you give him a call. Be open to that, because he's trying to give you a good suggestion. All right, number 4, make sure that you understand what you're asking for. So if you understand that fly fishing for permit is very difficult and you don't often catch many, great, that's fine. Don't go down there expecting to catch 100 a day if it's not that kind of fishery. Permit fishing on fly is definitely not. Bone fishing on fly can be in certain areas, but certainly not in other areas. Tarpon fishing, definitely not going to catch 100 in a day. So just make sure that you are on the same page. What is a realistic expectation of a day, just so you have your expectations set. These are all things that can really, really help you to have the trip that you want. Especially if you're bringing someone with you. If you are pretty experienced and you're bringing someone with you and they want to do something slightly different, maybe the guide that you've been going with is not the best for that situation. Maybe he is the best for fly fishing for redfish or spin fishing for spooky snook up against the bushes, but you're bringing someone that doesn't have that kind of skill level or doesn't have that kind of attention span, and maybe fishing for tarpon at the bridge would be more suitable. Or maybe going and finding a big school of Jack Crevalles and catching tons of them would be better. Just make sure you're communicating with your guide and think about these things. 1, be direct. Express what you want to do. Number 2, be honest. Give the guide an honest assessment of your fishing skills. Number 3, be open. Maybe come at a different time of the year. Maybe go with somebody else. Maybe use different kinds of tackle. And number 5, make sure that you understand what you're asking for. And if you think about these things, I promise you, you will have all the tools to make sure that you are getting the trip that you're after. All right, that's How To Tuesday for today. Look forward to putting out some really good podcasts this week. Good one coming up on Tuesday or Wednesday, which is C.A. Richardson. And a lot of people have been asking for that, so stay tuned. Talk to you next week.